Shortly thereafter, I was bashed pretty savagely. It was a police matter. Ended up in hospital. I could have died. It wasn't just punching, it was knocked me to the ground and 3 people laid into me with their boots.
We saw the photos. And where was it?
That was in Melton. In Melton. I was coming away from a teller machine. I just withdrew $200, but they weren't after the money. There was no attempt to take my wallet, and there was no complaint made by me to the police that I'd been robbed. And it was quite obvious what they were saying to me while they were kicking me to death, what it was all about. Keep your mouth shut. You know, not so many words. So, since that time, I've been fighting, trying to use every possible avenue open to me to get the message out there. There has been an enormous fraud perpetrated on the AWU. I've got to run here, I've got to run there, but slowly but surely, when your family, outside of your own loving family, is your work, and in my case that was a trade union, and it was the ALP. Well, once that collective group turn on you, that's effectively the end of your life as you once knew it. And that's what happened to me. I've lived through it, so I know exactly what I'm talking about here. Probably the best working years of my life were taken away from me. Now let me just turn to Julie Gillard. Julie Gillard, thanks to Michael Smith, I'm proud to call Michael my best friend. He's helped me in some terrible situations I was in. I'm talking about, you know, feeling very low and depressed. Michael's been fantastic, but it was his forensic skills. As an ex-copper, he retained these skills. It was Michael in the 2UE studios, before they finally put the boom down on the interview I went up there to do with Michael, that Michael matched a signature of Gillards on a letter that was to do with something else to the signature that we saw on this application to set up this false bank account, Julia Gillard. We had it tested by, I can't think of the guy's name, but he's reputedly one of the best forensic handwriting experts in Australia. So I hopped in a taxi with these 2 documents. I was sent over to Manly. Yes, 99.999% sure, written by the same hand. So the evidence was building against Gillard, yet Gillard was forcing more and more pressure onto Fairfax, who owned 2UE at the time, still do. And eventually they pulled the interview. Left Michael sitting like a shag on a rock, me as well. There's a lot more to that story I'll tell you about, but I know we're limited for time, and I really want to continue to talk about Gillard. But that's where Michael and I, the point I was making, that's where Michael and I became welded at the hip, I guess. And anyway, Gillard, she moved on in life. She got the sack from Slater and Gordon. She didn't resign. She got the sack because they found out, and bearing in mind a legal firm, they've got to be squeaky clean themselves when they're acting on behalf of a client. In this case, they had Gillard acting on behalf of the Australian Workers Union, the principal client and the only paying client, and she was also representing her boyfriend, who was the secretary of the AWU. She was eventually found out. I had a stack of documents which I locked away in a bank vault. That's how serious I took it, because I knew that I had the only set of documents that could link her, bearing in mind she wasn't in Parliament then, that could link her to the theft, the fraud. It wasn't until she became Prime Minister that people started to, or interest started to rekindle in this issue. So me, once again, took full advantage of that. Again, I got a run here and a run there until Michael Smith rang me up out of the blue, and I did that interview with him. And from that point on, Michael, all of the documents I had, Michael's had, he's gone through them with his forensic style, and he's picked up a number of anomalies that proved beyond doubt. The police are still investigating, they've got to convince themselves, but I can stand here and say it's proved beyond doubt that that person that lives in the lodge, I'm not talking about the dog, I'm not talking about the handbag, I'm talking about Gillard. She is a thief. She is a crook. She is a liar, not just on party. And I'll say this to Gillard, if she has a problem with me saying that, and they're not allegations, they're statements of fact, and I'm not up here to make a big man of myself, I'm up here to tell the truth. If she's got a problem, she has the same rights as all of us here, all of us around this country. We all have the same rights. If you feel aggrieved, if you feel hurt, if you might even feel a little bit damaged, or you might even feel you've been defamed, well, lady, take me to court. I'll conclude on telling you a little bit more about Bill Shorten and why, in my opinion, he will never become Prime Minister of this country. Bill Shorten has known about this corruption. Bearing in mind, I told you earlier, he was one of my best friends, albeit big age gap, but he's my protege. I guess that's probably a better way to put it. I looked after the young bloke. Yes, I did, indeed. I nurtured him. Bill knew exactly what had happened. He knew exactly about the money being stolen, the false bank accounts, real estate being bought and sold with union members' money, money never coming back to the union. He knew all that. So Bill Shorten, if you can hear me, Bill, you're guilty. Come on down and meet the people, Bill. Bill Shorten is guilty, and I believe will be found guilty, if not by the police, but he'll be found guilty by us, public opinion. Because what he did, by covering up a crime he knew that had been committed, that is I'm not a lawyer, but I know enough to know that that is an accessory after the fact. That's a crime. I say the same to Stephen Conroy. An accessory after the fact. I didn't forget Nicola. Oh. She moved to the back bench, but we don't forget quickly, do we? Nicola Roxon is the other one. Guilty. She's guilty, and it's an accessory after the fact. And I say that today publicly, and I just hope I get hit with a writ, because that will allow me then to go to court accused of defamation or whatever, but I'll have my day in court. It won't be hers, it'll be mine. Thanks very much for your time, everyone.
Thanks, Bob. Look, he's become a great mate of mine and I respect him dearly.